Hi guys, and welcome back to the Divine Witch. So today I'm going to do a video on tarot. Now, as you guys have seen over the last couple weeks, or probably about a month at this point, that I've been doing live tarot readings. And the reason that is for a few reasons. One, I've been doing tarot readings for over 15 years. Two, it helps bring people to the channel who may not have actually knew we existed and help start the discussion between pagans and those who just see themselves as spiritualists. Now, whenever I do these videos, there's a lot of things that come up, and it made me feel like I actually need to do a whole video, maybe even a series about tarot and how it changes from reader to reader. No, not only that, but the different things that you're going to get and how I do my readings. Now, when it comes to doing readings, you're going to have a lot of different points of view, different ways to read. It depends on who's reading you as well. I'm going to pull this up a little bit. I'm getting a little bit cold. But I want to go into my style. So when I do a reading, no matter what deck I'm using, which by the way, I will go over my decks that I have currently, ones that I kind of want to get, and we'll get into that later. But when it comes to me doing readings, like for example, let's see, what do we got here? Trying to find one that's really good that I normally get different vibes for different people on. Do 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 do. Let's go with the moon. So the moon. Now, if you look up the definition of the moon, you're going to see two definitions. One being this right side up, and one being reversed. That's the first thing I'm going to talk about. So with this card, there's a couple different meanings, and it really depends on the person that I get, the vibe that I get, the feeling that I get. Because I not only go by what the card's definition is, I go with what I get by vision, hearing, or feeling. And that is how I do my readings. I've done this to people I do not know, I've never met, I've done it online for people. Certain things will come up. Now, let's talk about the right way and reversed. Not everyone that you see do a reading will actually read the reversed card. You're probably asking yourself, well, why not? Well, when it comes to the reverse card, that depends on the reader. Some might actually see it as, oh, it's just the way the card flipped or whatever. It's nothing. But for me, I always seen it like this. If I have a card that's flipped upside down, whatever I normally associate with this or whatever feeling I get with this card, it's going to be the exact opposite if it's in reverse. That's personally how I do my readings. Now, if I'm sitting here and just like then, a card pops out, I'm going to read that card. Now, not all readers that you come across are going to read cards that pop out. Most of them will see it as, oh, well, I'm sitting there shuffling, I'm not paying attention, whatever. But when you have a card that flips out like this, or goes like this and falls, then yeah. Or my personal favorite, when half the deck tries to come out. Which, if you guys have watched any of my videos, when I do my lives, you will notice that that tends to happen. And then I'll ask them pick a number through one through this, because those type of readings that I do during my lives are just one card draws. If you guys want an in-depth reading, then it's different. So another thing I want to talk about is the difference between a one card draw and in-depth reading for me. Now, I know you guys have seen all the videos where they'll have decks laid out in 3 different piles with 3 different crystals, and they'll be telling you which one calls to you. Now, I'm not making fun of them because honestly, when it comes to me getting a reading for myself, I tend to go to these videos because for me, it's popped up on my feed for some reason. And 2, if I feel drawn to something by the sight of it, the energy I get from it, I know that that's a message for me. Now, is it going to be personalized? No. How is my one card pools personalized? Because when I do the one card pool, no matter what deck I'm using, which currently I think I got like 5 or 6 decks. So no matter what deck I'm using, when I see someone's name pop up, I will actually focus on that person. Even if their name is totally made up and has nothing to do with them, I will focus still on that person because there's still an energy connected. Now you're probably wondering, well, how can you connect with somebody if they're not there? Well, it's pretty easy. If you believe in anything as far as energy wise, manifestation, the connection and transfer of energy from one place to another, in the scientific belief that energy never dies, we are all connected. For one thing in the ecosystem to fuck up, we'll fuck up the rest. Kind of like what's happening with the bees right now. They seem so small and insignificant. How could they mess up a whole ecosystem? And yet they can. And the same thing goes with us. We are all connected by the energy around us and the earth and the planet that we are on. So no matter what the distance is, I am still able to connect with you via that energy. Now, one thing I will say that happens, and most of you guys have seen that on my lives, but if you haven't, I'm going to explain to you. My mind works like a computer with 30 tabs, or a squirrel that has multiple nuts and they don't know what direction to go in. Some would call that ADHD. I call it a fun time. Um, so I'll be reading somebody, but as I'm reading them, I'm seeing all the comments. So there may be times where I'm reading someone and it's for someone else. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Or my favorite thing that's been happening a lot that this deck particularly loves to do is to dig into people's past. Um, I've started to notice it, and I'll get into like decks and their personality later, but I've noticed that someone will ask me a question and it'll bring up something that happened 10 years ago that they haven't even thought about. And then they'll come back like 20 minutes later, like, you know what? This happened here. I had totally forgot about it. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Or it doesn't happen yet. So that's one of the things that's hardest as a reader is when you're reading someone and they don't make that instant connection and you're like, oh shit, am I wrong? Do I suck? Those are the first initial thoughts, even for me after doing it this long. Like, was I wrong? Was this the one time that I messed up? Like, what is it? And you got to kind of give it as it is. And that's why, like, if I'm reading somebody and it doesn't click instantly, I'm like, it's somewhere. And I'll even do extra cards, even if they don't see them, just to reaffirm that what I'm seeing is reality. Um, Sometimes it'll be future events that haven't even happened yet, but one little speck of information clues them in. You know, it's just, I hate to say it's one of those things, but it really is one of those things when it comes to reading. Now, some people will also ask, what is the difference between tarot? Give me a second, I got to pull them out. Angel decks. I got a lot of decks, so you gotta give me a moment. And if I can get it all together now. Oracle decks. So let's start with these two. What's the difference between an oracle? Let's try that again. What's the difference between an oracle and an angel deck? Well, I'm about to show you. Oracle decks and angel decks are similar because they're about a clear message. You can't mess it up. It literally describes what it is. So for this one, see the truth. For this one, divine timing. Oracle isn't really a message from anybody. It's a message from whatever is most prominent. Angel deck is a personalized message from either your angels, your guides, your ancestors. So that's personally how I take it. So To me, the difference between an oracle and a regular tarot deck. What is the difference? So the difference for me between an oracle and a tarot deck is this is the dumbed down version, very simplistic reading. Like, for instance, let's go with I'm always so picky when I'm trying to find. Okay, let's go with this one. Just because I like the way that it looks, the aesthetic, and everything else. So, if you look at this card, which hopefully it'll show really well, making sure it shows. What is it? It's like a dragon with a skull kind of thing going on here. Can't really tell that much. But it says make the sacrifice. So, for me, this means there's something in your life that you're going to have to sacrifice. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to give something to get something. So that's how I would take it. Very simplistic. Okay? Now, do 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 do. Okay. So, if I got the tower, which you can see it right here, in reverse. Like I said, this is upright, and then this is reversed. So if I get this in reversed, that tells me that what was going to be destructive isn't going to be destructive now. It's actually having the opposite effect and helping you reach towards your goal. So even though you feel like everything is upside down, it's not as bad as you perceive it to be. And I can go more in depth depending on what other cards surround it and the messages that I get. And then I can actually paint a story behind it. Now, one of the most common things that I get asked during our lives is, does so-and-so love me? Are they thinking about me? Or my personal favorite, what will my husband look like? Okay. So for those out there who see a one-card draw, here's some advice. When it comes to these type of questions, as far as like, what are they going to look like? You're not going to get everything in one card. That is why you have to pay for readings. Or you find someone who's just new to it, or you pick up a deck yourself and you start learning, which when you're first learning out, it's going to be hard. Because you're still trying to figure out, should you look at the book that you're given and go and look at it every time? Or maybe, like, let's say, for instance, Be Without Malice is one of these decks. You have been hurt, disrespected, and disappointed by others. Another has let you down and betrayed you. So let's say if it was in reverse, which it doesn't give a reverse. So that's another thing with oracle decks and things of that nature. But let's say if it was in reverse. To me, I would see that as right now you're in a good place. You're feeling great about yourself. You know, you've let bygones be bygones, so forth and so on. So, you know, it's different. I don't know how to explain it any more than it is different. You're not going to get, you know, what sign they are, what their personality is going to be like, all that in one card. It's not going to happen. That's like having one shared moment where, like, let's say somebody hands you a box and your hands touch. You feel the spark, but you still don't fucking know nothing. So, you know, don't expect to learn everything about someone and expect it out of one card. It's not to be disrespectful to those who've asked, but you ain't going to get a lot when it comes to that. As when it comes to a reading, especially the way I do my readings, there's been a few days where I'll do like multiple card readings for free, very far and few in between, but I do them. And you'll watch me pull from, if I can grab the big thing, my Thoth deck, my Deviant Moon deck, this deck, which name I can't remember, which I think it is of the actual Messenger Oracle deck, as the owl. So then the Angel deck, who I cannot remember, and then I've got my astrology deck that I pull from. So whenever I'm doing a reading, I'm not just pulling from one card set. I'm pulling from multiple card sets. Because when it comes to a reading, it's just like a relationship or, life in general. It's not just one fix all. Now, I will say this. If I can find it again to touch it. There we go. Soft deck. This is a review slash kind of give you the idea of what the Thoth deck is like. This is not for the timid. If you're wanting to be a nice reader and only give good things, this is not the deck. It is an asshole. It is mean. It can be cruel. It can be nice. It is very informative. It does not sugarcoat anything, but I love it. It's chaotic. And it's just fun. It really is. Like, this deck to me is like all my other decks rolled into one with a really bad attitude, if that makes sense. So, you're not really going to get much of an angel message from this, but I can tell you every facet of your life from beginning to end with these cards. So, I like this deck. I even got the book on it. I was blessed with it during a time when I had lost the deck I had with me for like 13 years. So, yeah. Now, here's another deck. It's called the Enchanted Astrologer, which I'll show you guys a few. Now, as you can tell, the artwork is very nice. It is an astrology deck. So you're going to get things like the third house, and you're going to get things like Saturn or North and South Node, and you're going to get like the different zodiac signs, which like Cancer, it's got all of them. And these have different association with them, different emotion. So it may not be, oh, we're speaking about a Cancer in your life. No, it could be someone who grows on you, something that may end up being traumatic. The normal characteristics associated with that sign for that reading. For anybody who's into astrology, numerology, I'd highly recommend this deck. It's got beautiful colors, beautiful pictures. I mean, honestly, it's like a deck of cards. It fits great in your hand. And the energy I get from this is one, to pinpoint. Like, this deck, I can tell you a lot of things about your life, some very key moments. But this is where I pinpoint the exact emotion, what, if it's financial, with yourself, with your environment, wealth, whatever it may be. This gives me the exact location of where it started, what energy brought it up, and gets me there. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a really good deck. You don't have to pick these. I'm just telling you the vibe I got from him because I've worked with him for a while. And I got this deck from a friend. They found it randomly in their parents' house, and they were like, I don't know where it came from. They don't know where it came from. Here you go. And at that time, I was thinking about getting another deck. So thank you, Hecate, and the universe, and Ragnar for the riches. So now we'll talk about the angel one. Okay, so this one, whose name I do not know. Maybe you guys will eventually see it out there, and I think it's actually supposed to be like this. I don't really know. This one, my husband's. I kind of stole it. He never used it. It just sat on a shelf, and it got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna play with him, and I did. And it was around this time I was like, I don't like angel decks, but they grew on me like a bad habit, and I've been using them ever since. And it's more of a quick read. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be something that's like super in depth, or maybe, someone's asking, like, what are my angels saying? Or, do my ancestors have any message? And this is just a quick, hey, this is what you need to work on. It's got everything from divine timing, guardian angel, you need to listen, focus, soulmate, new beginnings. Like, it hits all the key points, and the art for it is really pretty. Now, as far as the energy I get from it, give me a second. Now, as far as the energy that I get from it, it's more laid back, kind of like just here, doing my thing. That's the kind of energy I get from it. It's not dominating. It's not sad. It's just, I'm here. That's the kind of energy it gives me. So it's not like too invasive, and it's pretty quick to the point. Now, we'll go on to the other deck I stole from my husband. There's a lot of stealing in this video, I swear. Okay, so this wasn't on purpose. He was like, I want this deck. It's got an owl, and it's associated with Athena. By the way, I know I'm saying it sarcastically. I'm not making fun of Athena. No. But we got it. This is the deck box, front and back. You can get some of the artwork in there. Very pretty. It is made by Ravane Filion. I probably slaughtered that name. But it did come with a very cute picture book. They're not colored, but they do tell you about the card. Kind of help you out. And then it's got a nice little saying, I am Gaia. I am the daughter of the Great Spirit, who is the source of all. I am both magical and divine, as is all which I create. I am the Great Mother. I am your mother. And your beautiful soul are a physical manifestation of my love. Which I've never really read that back, but, it's pretty cool. And where are you at? Oh, there you are. And that's what these look like. So, you kind of got a description. And then, like, the artwork on it is really pretty. And the weird thing about this deck, like, this deck is kind of like one of those decks that fuck with you. And I mean that in the most sincere way. I don't know how many times I've used this deck. And when my husband first got it, I went through it, looked at all the pictures, and was like, it's so pretty. Look at those. Look at that. Yay. Right? There are still cards that pop out of this thing that I'm like, I've never seen that card. That card was never in this deck. Where did this card come from? So it is a very magical, suspicious deck. Maybe I'm the only one it's happened to. I don't know. Or maybe there's just certain ones that come out and other ones that don't come out as much. But it, like, okay, which is a good one that I don't see that often? Like this one. I don't see it that often. I know it's there, but this one popped up like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, who are you? Where'd you come from? So I don't know. Maybe it's just because certain ones pop out more or they show more, but, it is what it is. And then we've got this one. This is my newest deck that I've got. I'll show you the box because I still actually have it. And the artwork is very pretty. I actually got this at a tarot shop. Well, it was more like a mystical, spiritual shop. And I paid about $20 for it. Online, I think it's like $5 or $6 or something like that on Wish. But, I'm helping a local business out, so whatever. As far as like what they look like, they're very moon mystical looking cards. And like I told you, they have this weird ability to really dig deep into people's past. They will deal with present, but they have their attitude just like every other deck. Now, here's what I mean about attitude. Anybody who does tarot will tell you that eventually, after a certain amount of readings, your deck will do what I like to call Fliegenflogger. And the Fliegenflogger is, you've used me too much, and I'm done with your shit, and now I'm going to give you nonsense. They all do it. They all do. And that's another reason why I have multiple decks during my lives. Because I never know what deck is going to give me crazy little Fliegenflogger moments. So I always kind of just keep them all around. So when one is getting tired or annoyed with certain questions, I will jump off that one and go on to another one, and then it gives it time to like rebalance itself, I guess, along with its attitude. Now, another question that I get often is, how do you find your first deck? Well, when it comes to finding your first deck, that's really up to you. Now, when I was getting my deck, there was a saying that I didn't find out till I got my deck, that you shouldn't buy your first deck. Now, I had a deck that I had for 15 years. I could not get rid of it. And then I bought other decks, they would get destroyed, and this one would last over time. It was a well-worn path deck. Loved it. Well, then eventually, during a ritual, I forgot about the cards. And I've left them out before, when it gets dewy and stuff, and nothing's ever happened. Well, this time, they got ruined. Like, real bad ruined. To the point to where there was no saving them. So, I did my little thing for that, and I'll do that in another video. It's too much to go into in this video. So, I ended up getting another deck. It took a while, and that other deck that I got was the Thoth deck. Literally, I didn't get a deck for about a year because I didn't want to get a deck that I wouldn't feel connected with. So I asked the universe, hey, excuse me. So I asked the universe, I don't know what to get. Send me a deck. My friend messaged me and was like, hey, you want this Thoth deck? I'm like, sure. And I'm like, I got it, and the first vibe I got off of it was like, whoa, what the hell? Very potent, aggressive energy. But then I liked it. So I kept on using it, and then it's just been a thing ever since. But what I would advise for me to you, if you don't want to be stuck with a deck for 15 years and every other deck gets ruined, then I would advise to you, pick your deck, give the money to somebody, have them buy it, gift it to you. Bada bing, bada boom. You're done. As far as what I would recommend for a new starter, I mean, you can go with the basic bitch Rider's deck, which everybody's seen. If you haven't, it's one of the oldest, well, kind of one of the oldest, besides like the ones that used to be used for playing cards. The most popular, I should say. So that's a good one. But if I was going to give you one, the Well-Worn Path would be a good one. It's sturdy, it's classic, and the vibe off of it is one of love and caring and nurturing. That's what I would highly recommend. Now, for the more advanced witch who is more chaotic, I would advise the Thoth deck. Now, you may not like it. You may try it and be like, it ain't my thing. And that's fine. It is what it is. But, I eventually want to expand my decks, and I will eventually do that. Another question I get is, do you keep all your decks in the same spot? I do. I actually have a bag that a friend made me. That way I could put the Thoth deck in, because if you look, it gives it enough space to kind of move around and do its own thing. And there's a few other decks that I keep in there with it, such as this and the Angel deck. Does it conflict the cards? No. They live together. They love each other, whether they like it or not, because that's what I got at this point in time. Eventually, I do want to get like one of those glass cases where I can display all my cards, but that'll be later down the road. Right now, this works perfectly fine. I'm able to travel with it. I'm able to take it whenever I'm doing readings or just to put it up in safekeeping. Plus, it gets energized by the energy every time I touch it. Um, what would be another thing to tell people about tarot and readings that you'll find that I do? Another thing about tarot is you can do rituals with it, meditations with it, spell work with it. Um, there's a lot of different things that you can do with divination. So don't see it as, oh, I can. By the way, thought deck will have a blank card. I always leave it in there just in case something pops up, and if it does, it's uncertainty. Um, you know, many people don't think about using tarot in their spell work or meditation, but it is a really good way for you to connect with your cards, to build a bond, because that's what you're doing with your cards. You're putting trust that they're giving you the right information and that you'll take care of them. So it's like a connection thing. Um, so that's what I would suggest. Um, try to at least cleanse your cards every once in a while. I've got this thing where, let me see if I can show it. Every Samhain, I end up flipping all my cards over to one side. And I'll show you what I mean as soon as I find one that's different. Which it probably ain't going to be because of the readings I've been doing lately. Okay, so for instance, we got this card. This is the right way. I will flip all my cards this way instead of having them where some are down like this and some are like this. And I do that once a year, or unless I've had a really bad reading and the energy that came through, I just did not like. Instant cleanse, instant flip them, and get it taken care of. But the reason that I only do it once a year is because that's however my cards land, that's how my cards land. Eventually, those ones that are flipped will flip back over themselves over time. To cleanse them, I would not suggest putting them outside. You can do a crystal cleanse, you can do a mirror cleanse, you can do a salt cleanse, an herb cleanse, a smoke cleanse. Um, trying to think of what else you can do with it too. You can wrap them in a certain cloth, do it that way. Anoint it with either an oil that you've anointed yourself or bought. You can do holy water if you're into that sort of thing. So yeah, well, there's multiple ways that you can cleanse your deck. It's just up to you and what you want to do. I normally also keep mine on my altar because Hecate is my goddess, and divination is one of the things that I work with her with, along with Hades. Let's see, what else can I tell you about tarot? We went over personalities, upkeep, bags. Okay. So you also got to see tarot like this. Tarot is kind of like a doorway in a way. It allows you to communicate with not only, past, present, future, but spirits, ancestors, guides, gods, goddesses, demons, whatever it may be. So make sure that when you're done, you say thank you, goodbye if you wish, and wrap them up. Now, traditionally, you would do that in a black cloth, like you would throw over your scrying mirror or crystal ball. Mine is not a black cloth, but it does have black lining. Um, and I normally keep them on my altar anyway, so it doesn't really affect it as far as that goes. Um, another thing that I like to do, since my deities do have divination in them or with them associated, I will actually take these decks and dedicate them to those deities to help guide me, to send information to me, whatever it may be, with them. Let's see, what else can I say? I want to make sure that I kind of, it's not going to get everything in here, but I at least want to put enough information to where someone watches this video, they're going to be like, one, I love this girl because you're going to love me. I'm awesome. Accessorize. Two, and you're going to love the information on this video, and you're going to feel like you actually gained something from it. Or at least that's my hope I put out there for manifestation. Now, as far as decks that I want, I do want the Dark Moon Goddess one. I would like to start getting some old vintage ones. And I've been thinking if I can find someone that I trust and is willing to work with me, I want to make a deck for Hecate. I've seen a few decks for Hecate, but I feel like I want to create something that not only shows her darkness, but also shows her light. Because that's the thing about her as well. You know, a lot of people want to put her into like a box, when she's so much more. So, what else is there that I need to tell you about tarot? I've repeated this question to myself more than once. When you're starting out, now here's the thing that I'll talk about. Should you pay for readings or should you not? Now, of course, I'm a reader, so I'm going to eventually tell you, yeah, pay for your readings. You know this. But here's the thing. If you see it like this, if you ask a deity, hey, help me with this work, or a spirit, or a god, what do? Oh, wait. Offering. Exactly. You always give an offering. So when you're imploring someone to use their gifts for you to help you out, you're going to give them an offering. It's one, a sign of respect, and two, it puts you in favor that you're willing to put in, you know, where your money where your mouth is, pretty much. Because you'll get a lot of people who only use you for your readings. I've had people come in and tell me, oh, I want a reading, I want to get this reading, I want this reading, and then they never show up or manifest. So for those people, I refuse to do readings for. And it's just for the thing being, like, that's a waste of time, that I could be doing something else or helping someone else. Now, when it comes to finding out information on, like, is someone possessed? It's not a one-card draw kind of thing. That is an intense reading. That sometimes takes days. And it reflects it. You got to think back in the day when, you know, we were curing people or oracles, you always left something behind as an offering, no matter what it was. And that's one thing that I feel like we forgot about because, you know, we get in this thing of, oh, you shouldn't have to pay. Well, some people, that's how they make their living, just like they did back then. If you come to somebody for a service and you want to know something, there's only so many times they're going to give it to you for free because you're draining them of their energy. And then once you get what you want, you walk away. But they're still stuck with the energy that you left behind. Food for thought, just saying. If anybody wants to book a reading, you can message me on Facebook, Instagram, comment down below. I take PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. My rates are for 15 minutes, $30. 30 minutes, it's going to be $50. Anything higher will be a customized price. Anything lower than that is also a customized price. And most people are like, well, what would be 4 cards or 3 cards or 2 cards? Well, I don't do it by card. I do it by time. Because, see, I'm a human. And time, for me, I could be making this video right now, give you a 1-card reading that you asked for, and then drop dead. Well, I'm dead. But what did I leave behind for the one that's got to remove my body? You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's how I always look at it. Like, time is never guaranteed. So, if I'm going to take time away from loved ones and experiences, I'm going to get paid for it. So that way I leave something behind. I do tarot class. You can email me about that as well. And you can also book readings by email at the Divine Witch, spelled just like it is on this channel, at gmail.com. We do have a Patreon as well. I actually need to start posting on there more. Trying to think what else I can tell you guys. I promise, this isn't just like one big promo. There's like factual information, but I want to put out the information of my reading. So that way, if someone's like, ooh, I want a reading, but I don't know what to do, well, I gave you information. Did you watch the full video? It's in there. Trying to think of what other questions I got asked during lives, because that's one of the main reasons I did this video. Besides giving you guys information, of course. I think that's pretty much it that I can think of. Now, if you guys got questions, or you're curious about something, or maybe you want to know more about something, if I don't know it, I'll ask around, because if I don't know something, I'll admit, hey, I don't know, but this person might, or I read this when you asked the question, because even I was like, curious. So, comment below. Make sure to subscribe if you would. That would help me out in this channel. Share with friends. Get a discussion about tarot and its mystical ways. Other than that, guys, remember, no two witches witch the same, and this witch is tired, and I am out. Good night.